John!
Daryl.
How's it going, man?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah?
Doing good.
How's your hand, by the way?
It's coming along good. Yeah, doctor says the exercise, my mobility is already, they were pretty impressed when I went in for, to just get I had like a splint, so I couldn't bend it.
Yeah.
And they said, when they saw me make a fist, they're like, oh man, so you're kind of ahead of the game. I'm like, yeah, you told me to do it.
So for those of those who don't know what's going on, tell us.
Carpal tunnel, and then I had trigger finger, my ring finger, and my pinky, which is controlled by that nerve, which I didn't know was a funny bone nerve. So they moved it up. They made it about a 5-inch incision. Moved it up here, kind of in the crook of my elbow, and then they made a little incision here. And my finger was like that before. I couldn't put like shaving cream with these fingers. It was just like this for a while. That's why I knew I got to get this fixed.
Right.
And finally, once he made that incision, like that day, I could already straighten it out better, and I just been exercising it. So 5-6 weeks.
Ready for spring bear?
That's why I got it done. I gave up Arizona to get it done, so I can be still working on my house and stuff. I got to get that finished, and then I want to be ready for spring bear.
Right.
So anyway, we're on the mend.
Good.
Speaking of on the mend, I know you're at the sheep show this weekend, Hoby. We got our good friend Hoby Gartner here from Deadline Outfitters, and he was at the sheep show, and I'm sure you had fun there.
We had a good time. Yesterday the drive home was a little rough, but no, recovered well.
I know you were telling me before, this is kind of you and your wife's time you can get away, just you two, because you're so busy. And your wife is just an amazing woman.
Yeah.
What she does to keep things in order.
Very involved, really the number one in our company.
Yeah. Right.
But no, it was a great time. Yeah, it was one of those deals that we leave the kids behind on that deal and kind of cut loose and have a good time. And Wild Sheep is always a lot of fun to go and see a lot of past clients and other outfitters, and been doing the sheep deal for a long time, and it's amazing how connected, small world really after all, and you end up kind of about knowing 70% of the people that are walking through that door, so it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's cool. So for the people that don't know, because we'll have people watching this that aren't local, kind of tell us your business.
Yeah, where you grew up.
Yeah, so I own Deadline Outfitters, Unit 54 in Idaho. We guide for elk, deer, antelope, moose, mountain lion. We do it all.
Plus you got your pheasant, your bird thing.
Plus we're just going on our 4th year of doing the pheasants, and that's been a lot of fun. We do a lot of high pressured, everything else basically we do. The pheasant deal was kind of get back to just tradition of hunting, having people come in and have a great time. It's as much as about the lodge time as it is the time out in the field, but nobody really cares if it's 1.5 pound or 2 pound bird,
yeah.
People just like to have a great time.
And it's usually a pretty good sized group that comes in.
It is, yeah. We have a lot of groups between, all the way to 2 to 15, 16 people, that come, and a lot of them do day hunts or stay 2 or 3 days and use our lodge, but it's a lot of fun.
Your guys' lodge is, I remember, and I'm sure probably John does back when you first started. I remember when you just bought the property, and there was just, your house was a lot smaller, as well as there was just a little barn there and a little shed. Was it a little shed too?
Yep.
And what you've turned that into, we'll have to put some video footage of it on this podcast here so people could see, which is available for rent too, along with...
Yep, we Airbnb that too, and real fun. We're actually building a whole new property right now, and adding the wedding venue to the list of things we do. Nice. And also extending our pheasant stuff, but it's...
Is that going to be more where your pheasant hunts are, is on that side of the...
Yeah, we do both sides, and I'm not sure exactly how we're going to, if we're going to run more out of our old lodge or our new one, but it's quite the project that I'm doing, so it might take me just a minute to really get that all up and running, but so far it's looking really good.
Yeah, that lodge is just insane. I know it took you quite a while to get it done the way you wanted, but everything is done. You didn't cut no corners.
No, and that's what we're trying to do on the next one. And right now, corners are hard not to cut. But we're
Now, what did you tell me the other day? Is champagne taste on a beer budget type thing or something?
That's
like
right. Yeah. Started with less than a beer budget, you know. So no.
Let's talk about a little bit about where you grew up and how you did get started.
Yeah, so I grew up in Filer, Idaho. Lived here my whole life. You know, where we live now is only about 20 minutes from there. You know, I knew Daryl's boy when I was younger, and I also knew Daryl for a long time. And you know, really how I kind of got into the hunting to start with, I guess, was really with my grandpa. And wasn't maybe the way we hunt now. It was a little bit more rough as far as, you know, maybe they grabbed an 18 pack and they enjoyed the day and they dropped me off here and picked me up here, you know, a little different, you know. They wore binos around their neck and never looked through them. And I remember being a kid, and I think I was 12 years old. Yeah, it was my first hunt, and it was opening morning, you know, so it would be October 5th, right?
Yeah.
And we were hunting around Sun Valley area, and we're looking at the very top, and I see these two bucks that are just unbelievably big, and I'm so excited, and all who I hunted with was, you know, my great uncles and my grandpa, and they were probably all in their late 60s, you know, or early 70s, and I look up there, I said, so what's the plan? What are we going to do? And they laughed, and they said, boy, when you get up there, them deer are going to be gone, you know, you don't even know how it works, you know. And so I've always stayed in touch with them guys, and they always took a lot of pride in what I did, you know, and kind of felt like they had something to do with it, which they did.
Right.
But I always told them, I remember my grandpa's, I think 50th wedding anniversary. You know, he had all these group around, and he was giving me crap about how, you know, I'm doing everything I'm doing is because of him, you know. Yeah. And I said, just so you know, you remember them deer that were on top of that mountain that you said laughed at me? I said, them are the deer we kill every year.
Did they let you even go after them then?
No. No, they didn't. And it was looking back, it would have been a deal, but nothing that all of us wouldn't have went and tried,
right,
you know?
Exactly.
But, so moving forward just a little farther, I always was in touch with Daryl, and I knew what he did, and I always looked for an opportunity at doing this. I mean, when I was hunting, I was really obsessed with it, but didn't really get to do it as much as I would like to. You know, I didn't really have the funds or the availability to really go do that. And hunted a lot more between 17, 18, 19 years old, hunted every day really, doing stuff with me and my buddies. And asked Daryl one time, I said, hey, is there any way maybe you could get me where I'd have a shot at guiding sometime? And he says, you bet. Let me call Okie that worked for George Tolman at United States Outfitters and see if I can get you an interview. And I went down there, me and Tasha. Tasha said if this...
So you were just newly... How long have you been married?
Probably a half a year at that time. I was probably 20.
Yeah.
I was probably early 20, and went and interviewed that summer, and they said yep, and came back. And of course Tasha went with me. She says if we're going to do this, she didn't marry me to be away from me, and so she went and interviewed as a cook at the same time, and we were a good duo, they said, and that's what we did, you know.
She was great cooking. I mean, I was in a few of you guys' camps that she was cooking it.
She always works so hard, still today, you know, always making sure she's doing her part, which is way more than her part. But no, it's been a lot of fun. So from that, you know, we guided in for George. I think we guided 5 states. Was it Kansas,
New Mexico,
Arizona, Nevada? What am I missing?
Did you go to Colorado or anything?
I can't. No, didn't do that. But let's see. No, we had 5 states I know for them, and then anyways, working for George years later. It was right during archery. archery elk, and I was the youngest guy that worked for USO for a lot of years, and
I was the oldest.
No, you weren't. But always trying to earn the respect of the guides around me, and a lot of them are older than me too. So I made sure I packed out every single thing I can. I packed every single night, and a lot of the guides were 45 to 60 years old, and if I could help out, why not? So most of the time I didn't get to bed till 1 o'clock. Guy flew in that wanted to hunt elk, and we could legally go spotlight elk in New Mexico as long as we didn't have a weapon or anything. Yeah. And he's never got an opportunity to do something like that. He's from Alaska. This guy that comes in has his own outfit, and I think, gosh, I'd like to go hang around this guy just a little bit and see if there was ever opportunity. And
he was your client, correct?
No, he wasn't actually. He was hunting on his own. But he just was staying in George's camp, and he was a friend of George, a good friend of George. Jeff Burwell is his name. Yeah. And anyway, so I take him out that night, and I remember being so exhausted, but so worth the trip. I think we got back about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we talked all night, and he tells me, he says, Hoby, I could use somebody like you, and he says, I'm going to get a hold of you this spring, and I thought, I hope so, but, kind of doubt he calls, just a nice thing. And sure enough, I never called him. Spring came, gave me a call, and he says, you ready to go? And that's just Jeff Burwell style, he's just always ready to go. There's no big plan up to it. And I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, all right, well, we're going bear hunting this spring. I had a pack for 2 years, kind of apprentice program for Alaska to be able to be a guide. So obviously that was a big cut and pay for a couple of years to go do that, but at the same time Tasha was coming, so she was making all the money, and
bailed you out again.
Yep, and it worked out so good. It led to, I think last year was my 17th season.
Man, time flies.
Yeah, it's been an amazing run, and I hit it just right when Jeff was fairly large at the time, outfitter, and the sheep were just absolutely amazing. And I think I've been on 62 or 63 Dall sheep hunts, or successful awesome. Dall sheep hunts, and that's been a lot of fun. You go from being in Idaho, not really getting to do that type of hunting, not really knowing exactly what sheep hunting's about, to getting thrown into it, and then getting to be truly, I'm one of the lucky ones. I probably have been on as many as most of the guides in Alaska, and thought I knew what sheep hunting was about, and it's kind of almost hard to explain it, though. You're right. It's I don't know if the biggest victory is if you get the ram killed on the mountain, or if you get everybody safely back to camp at the end, And
right.
I'd say a lot of the older guys' victory is when they get back to camp and they're just like, I did it, I made it. And but that's been a lot of fun. I always say, if you haven't at some point hit your knees on the mountain, looked up to God and asked him, what the hell you're doing on this mountain, you probably haven't sheep hunted long enough, because it's probably more mental than it is actually physical, and
like most things in
yep,
life.
Yep. And just the challenges, and that's what's so fun about Alaska or sheep hunting in general, is it's you're seeing the same guy, hunter after hunter. Them guys, they're there for that for sheep, but they're there for challenges of life. They want to see that I still got it. Some of these guys are 80 years old that hit there, and I'm like, why? And I remember Jack, I can't remember Jack's last name, but he's killed 3 or 4 rams with Jeff, and he comes back and he's a little overweight. Obviously he's 4 or 5 years older. He's in his late 70s, and these 2 younger kids, Chauncey and Jonah, great friends of mine, they take him out, and they get this sheep that I think he was like 38 inches long, which is a great ram, but he was like 14 5/8 bases, which is unbelievable for a Dall, Yeah. And I'm so proud for this guy that just he gets back, and
does he get around pretty good?
He gets around pretty good, but it was definitely, and I seen him coming off the mountain the day they were coming down. I mean, we can't use radios or anything, and so I just see him there, and I take the Argo over, and I pick him up, and I'm bringing him back, and I said, Jack, how was it? He said, well, these kids tried to kill me. But I'm still alive, and I got a monster sheep, and I said, well, Jack, after all these years, why do you do it? He says, well, Hoby, I've been married for 50 years. I'm overweight. I have nothing to prove to anybody except to myself that I can still do it. And he said, that's why I'm here, to see if I still got it in me. He's like, well, why else do you have to work out all year long? I said, you've been working out all year long. he just smiled crooked at me, but it was good.
That's awesome. It's a great story.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've had a couple clients the same way that I remember one of my as far as in shape guys goes, and granted, I'm older than he was then. He was 58, and I remember a lot of times when clients would come into camp that are going to go on a hunt, I'd start eyeballing, saying, "Man, who am I going to try to get saddled up with so I can?" You want a person to be in really good shape, blah blah blah, and this guy, I got there late, and he was the last guy there, and he had came into camp. Probably 3 or 4 days prior to, he drove out from Indiana prior just to get acclimated. And tall, slender guy, and nice guy, but he'd go hiking around with weight in his backpack and everything. And so at first I'm thinking I got stuck with him, right? Oh my gosh, that guy was in such phenomenal shape. He got acclimated. So you never really know, was my point, and he was actually a basketball coach as well as a referee. So they're running up and down the court. So all that made sense. But my point is, you can never really judge how good or bad a shape somebody is in by, what they look like. Right. I know you and I both shared a client, you in Arizona, me in New Mexico, buffed guy.
Yep.
You remember which one I'm talking about?
Yep.
And I thought this guy is going to be amazing, but he lives in Massachusetts, where there's no altitude at all. And being as big as he was, he was buffed. As big as he was, trying to push all that weight around in the mountains, it just kicked his butt. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do, and a little bit with that is going back to Alaska just for a second, I'd never been beat up a mountain before, until I went to Alaska. And I went to Alaska and I got hammered the first year.
Really?
And I was probably as strong as I'd ever been. I was probably close to 200 pounds. I lifted still a lot and everything else, but that much muscle takes that much oxygen.
Yeah.
And so I remember about halfway through my second year, I was that same guy that I was competing again then.
Did you lose weight your first year?
Yeah.
Because of that?
I probably, and the best I'd ever did, I was probably 167 pounds, which I haven't weighed since I was an 8th grader. But I was skinny as a rail. Boys made fun of me when I got back. They're like, he's just a little guy. But, that was...
Let's go up the mountain, we'll talk about
that
it.
Was right. Yeah, it was just, you see why them Alaska boys a lot of them are tall and lean and just tough, and I loved that change, actually.
Yeah.
But, that much extra muscle on you, it doesn't help you at all go up the mountain,
For sure.
But...
Cardio is king.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, cardio.
Do you deal with that much here for the elk hunts and stuff like that? Like your clients, do they have issues with any of that?
As far as here?
Yeah.
We are pretty fortunate right here that it's not quite as physical as some places, but we're lucky in Unit 54 that, probably biased to this a little bit, but it's my funnest unit I've ever hunted. I always say
it ranks up there in my opinion. We've both been in New Mexico, Arizona, and that. And when the rut's going on here, I think it. Granted, you may not find. The good thing about it being right on the border of Nevada is you've got those Nevada genes, and the elk had a lot of years to keep that going before they even started hunting it.
That's right.
So it. To me, rivals right up there. You may not find it, but every year you guys, if you don't kill it, you at least turn up a 400 class bull, and sometimes there's years where you get more than that, but more than one. But I've told people for years before they even had a hunt there, I was telling people, man, when they do, because there was rumors about it, and there was rumors for a couple of years before they actually did it. And I says, you watch, as soon as that opened, all the state records are going to get shattered. And I remember at that point when, and granted, I paid more attention to archery than I did rifle, but anyway, I remember the standing state record was 380, which is an amazing bull. But it got shattered as soon as it's been broke. I don't know how many times up there since.
Well, yeah, you look at that. Look how many years past it is. How many years has it been open? It's been open over 20.
Yeah.
You know, and we're still, you know, just finding tremendous bulls. You know, and you know, first little bit on the number one goal I had as an outfitter was to produce a 400-inch bull. You know, I hope I just won in my life. You know. And I remember the day it happened so well, and it was with Shelley Sayer, great hunter, great person. And it wasn't, there was a lot of ups and downs during that hunt, just as far as it almost happened.
That was a muzzleloader, correct?
Correct, yep. And, you know, a traditional muzzleloader in Idaho is not an easy deal. And but Shelley hung in there, and the opportunity finally happened. She was hunting with Ben Hepworth, one of my main guides, been with me almost since I started. And I watched it in the scope happen in the mountain. I just couldn't even believe it. And click on the radio, tell me, Ben, what is he? What is he? You know, and I remember Ben said, I don't know, he's over 350. You'll have to just get down here. And I just and I did. I raced right down the mountain, you know. And I'm like, my heart, I'm so confused right now that he says this number. Because we all had a bet earlier in it, you know, and he's so heavy that it was really a hard one to score on.
Who was the closest?
Yeah, I was the closest, but
whatever. No,
you know, I
what did you guess?
I guess 414, and you know, just throwing a number out, right? I always guys always like 14 and 5/8, blah blah blah. You know, but you know, really, I always figure if I'm within 10 inches, I'd done good. I still think that.
But in reality, I mean, if you get a chance, and of course, I've never seen 5/8 or whatever. I've heard guys do that too, and it's like, really 5/8? Did you put a tape on it? No. Well, yeah, whatever. But if you can study one, and I'm sure you probably studied that bull quite enough that you can get a good idea.
You know, they actually missed this bull the year before, and what a God gift that we missed this bull, because he probably went from the mid 380s. So very impressive bull to what he was then. And when we were all scoring him, you know, some of my guys were like, hey, on the hoof, earlier, 380, 375, and I tried to tell these guys, I walked right up to this bull. I go, this bull has mass that we've never seen on any other bull. He's going to surprise you lengthwise, you know, and that's such a truth deal.
That is.
If you're off on the mass on these bulls, you're off on everything. And in these, and I'd say, yeah, genetics is a big play, but the difference is these bulls actually get to the age that they need to produce the mass. And if you miss the mass, you miss everything on score-wise, you know. And I lucked out and got the mass right, and the rest came. Don't get me wrong, some of my measurements were here and here, win and loss, you know.
Until you put a tape on it.
But, you know, I was actually within like 3/8, you know, which was a funny.
Is it 414?
Yeah, it's 414. Yeah, he was 414, Boone and Crockett.
I don't know about this, folks, but...
But he was,
I mean, you look at enough, and it's.
But that was just pure luck, you know. You. I thought I was probably fairly close to that, but really, you didn't know. I mean, like when he hit that, said that number on there, I got down there and I touched it, and I just knew I was so right, you know. And the mass on it was just unbelievable. You know, it has 36.5 inches of mass on one side, 34.5 inches on the other, it was an amazing moment. So on that being said, you know, we've done it 4 times total now.
That's awesome.
For over 400, and I remember
a lot of 380s and not a lot, but I mean, definitely a good grip full of that 370 plus to 400.
Yeah, we have. Yep. And you know, for a long time, I mean, I'm guiding for the first 6 or 7 years. The biggest bull I'd ever killed was a 357. Just happened to be my first bull I ever guided, and I got locked on this number, and several times that we were that were close to killing this next level bull, but a lot of bulls that 350, and that 350 is a great bull, by the way. I mean, it still really is, and all of a sudden here in Idaho, it just started to click. And, I beat my record 8 times in 1 year, and then we just started to go from there and figuring more and more stuff out and learning the unit. And
So what I look at, maybe get your opinion on this, because what would you say, what do you use the nose as a judge, like the horn burrs to know? Do you ever use that at all?
I do a little bit, right? I use it more on, I give it on a comparison, but some of these big curly things now,
But I kind of look at, so of course you always look at thirds and whale tails as a telltale of what it could be, right? But I've always kind of used the nose, and I know some of them really curl up, but if you can figure out like the end of his nose, the length of that, and then judge for the curl. But then to me, to compare that, this is just me, and maybe I don't claim to be the greatest scorer on the hoof, but if I can look at that and say, okay, that's what I think it is, and I usually say it's around the 18-ish.
Yep.
Is what I usually use that as my marker, and then go from there, and then compare that tine to the other tines. And I don't know if that makes sense at all to you, but
No, for sure. I mean, really, I do that. Then I compare a lot. Obviously, we start with mass, but then, we just look at so many of them, and I measured so many horns on the ground and just try to get a reference of, the hardest thing is when they're all so even, when you don't have these exploding points, right? Like, you don't have just a 23-inch third and you have every one of them that's the same kind of equal, right? You have a 19-inch fifth, and them bulls sometimes can be the trickiest. I looked at a bull we didn't personally shoot, but we had pictures of it, and I'm scoring it, and I said, wow, this bull's probably like 400, and knew it was probably that bull, but they ended up putting it on the ground and it was 427.
Wow.
And I've seen the mount and looking across the room, I still say he's a 400-inch bull. I walk over to it and everything's so even. All of a sudden it's like, nope, there's the 427. It's unbelievable. Sometimes some of them bulls you just got to put on the ground because you just don't know, but we had a tremendous year this year. I think we shot 5 bulls over 380 this year. We killed one bull that was he grossed a little over 402, and I think he officially grossed 401 and 5/8 this year. But our main beams were a different deal this year. I mean, that bull should have been a 385 bull. Besides, he had 63-inch main beams.
Oh, wow.
And, until this is the first year we'd ever killed main beams like that, ever. And we did it 3 times. So we killed 60-inch main beams.
Wow.
That's insane.
How many years have you had the deadline?
Since 08. So was this my 14th year? I think I just finished.
I remember when you called me up and asked me about the outfitter, who it was. And,
yep.
And
and speaking of that outfitter, what an opportunity, to get that. I got it on a time that John Turner is his name, great person, still a friend of mine.
Great guy.
Unfortunately not doing really well right now. He's really declining health-wise. I always feel like things are fate, just a little bit. I mean, a lot of things have happened in my life. It's just been like a chain of events that only happened for whatever reason. That day was the day, and honestly, John thought he had a heart attack the week before. I haven't done no news of this before. I've never met John, and the only really reason I got that chance at that unit was because John was worried about his health and gave me an opportunity. He
called you back, right?
He did.
After that happened? Because I know when I kind of talked to him a little bit, he had a couple other people that had offered him quite a bit of money to do it, but he had that unit for years, and it was his deal, and he just never really opted to do much with it. Did a few lion hunts and things like that, if I remember right, but never pursued much after that. And
but he gave me just a great opportunity, and he did because he knew I came from no money, knew that I had a lot of ambition, and gave it to me. I'd say a lot for that reason, you know. And like you said, he'd had higher offers than what I'd offer. It was mostly about trying to do some good. And, you know, same thing. I go visit John a few times through the year and see how he's doing and kind of show that appreciation a little bit. And you know, he, like last time I seen him at D&B just about a month ago, and you know, he brought up how proud he was of what we've done with it, and that he got to be a part of it, and you know, and appreciate that.
Yeah,
so,
That's cool.
Yeah, super good guy.
Yep.
Yeah, and you went from that to where you are now, client-wise. Plus, I remember you also pursued Fish and Game because there wasn't a lot of opportunity up there for outfitters.
There wasn't no allocation at the time.
Yeah, tags. Yeah.
And you know, Randy Smith, he's passed and gone now, but he was our head biologist in there, and same kind of guy. Actually, gave me some opportunity. Knew I'd be a good one for the unit. Knew that I believe in a lot of what I believe an outfitter should be. That, you know, really, yeah, I got a BLM and a Forest Service permit. But we don't own any of that mountain. You know, I believe in doing the right thing on the mountain. If somebody's pursuing a bull, you don't cut in front of them. You don't whatever.
Because you're the outfitter.
Because we're the outfitter.
And that happens so much.
It does, and I'm totally, you know, anti. You know, I'm at one of my friends' shops one day, which is Caleb Drake, Advantage Archery, and I'm in there one day, and I hear this guy come in, and he's ranting and raving about the outfitter that's up there, you know, and Caleb kind of looks at me and looks back, and
did you punch him?
No. But he says, you know, that deadline, they think they own that whole mountain up there, and we had this bull that we're chasing, and he came up to me and said, you know, this is our area, and this is our canyon. We're hunting this bull, and you know, Caleb looks at it and says, Hoby, the main guy to Hoby Gartner? Oh yeah, most arrogant prick I've ever met in my life. And you know, Caleb,
so he knows you.
He's standing 15 feet from me. Never met me a day in my life. You know, and Caleb was just about to see his finger. I'm like, nah, just shake it off. Don't let it. But he ran on for another 15 minutes and leaves. And I said, Caleb, can you believe that? He says 5 times a day I can believe it. You know, but the truth is, he knows that's totally everything what we're against. You know, I mean,
and it's not really worth getting in an altercation. I mean, like a verbal.
It's
fight.
not. You know, I mean, my whole key to, I think, some of our success and not getting in any problems in the mountains, I go find the bull that nobody else is looking at. That's my goal. You know, I want to enjoy that moment up there, not just for.
Well, yeah, as well as if you're in a super busy canyon, because there is still, even though it is, like I said, amazing unit, there's still enough of it up there that doesn't get much pressure. You can go find those bulls like that. But the easy access stuff, that's where you're going to run into those
more people and more problems and like you say, I mean, I've had hardly any problems on that mountain the whole time, and that's kind of been the key to it, is just finding stuff that's out of the way. And to me, I'll take a 10-inch lesser bull to go have a great time.
No pressure.
And just go hunting. You know, I don't like racing to bulls. That don't make no sense to me. I like to hunt. I like to do a skillful deal, not you know, this is just me, not to lay down a $1,200 or a 1,200 yard gun to beat the guy that's at 400 yards. I just don't want to play the game. I want to hunt.
Yeah.
You know, and this unit allows us to do that.
Yeah, that's good. And you've since acquired some property in the mountains as well up there, right?
We do. We have just a cabin up there on private ground, and that's been a lot of fun.
Did you end up purchasing that too?
Yep. Nice. That's all done, and that's been good.
Yeah, that's nice. It's just far enough in there that you can put a few extra clients. And
right now we do all wall tents on that setup. You know, we have one cabin that we do all the eating in and cooking and stuff, and then we set canvas tents around there. But you know, we're hoping in time that we do more and more cabins, just not have to break them down at the end of every year.
Right.
And another thing that you don't have to do.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a cool little spot right there too.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
man,
kind of fun.
it is.
It is. Yep.
And John, you've done quite a fair amount of filming, huh?
Hoby's been more than gracious. Let me tag along on a bunch of hunts. Yeah, so from my perspective, it's been awesome because the stuff that I've got to film for Hoby's been, I mean, I'd never had that opportunity to get those tags or, so hard to draw them, obviously. Yeah. And then to see that quality animals, there's no way.
Yeah.
Mostly, I mean, there's been a few elk hunts, but mostly moose hunts. And that has just been phenomenal. I've loved every minute of that.
That's been a couple of my guides are not the biggest fan of hunting moose, and I look at it as what an opportunity. I mean, really, we've been able to be a part of some of the biggest Shiras in the last 7 to 8 years in the U.S. You know
why? It's when they hit the ground. The work starts.
Yeah,
no, that's true.
Well, I think some of it is they don't give them moose the credit that they are. I mean, some of these guys will always say, "Oh, them dumb moose." Well, I'll tell you, we just got done this year, John. You actually got to finish it with one of our clients.
Yeah.
He was a local that we had a bull in mind in the first. We actually passed it the first day, thinking maybe we might find not necessarily a bigger bull, but maybe the next age class. We knew this bull had a little bit more potential left in it just by age, but he was a fantastic bull. And we hunted after he passed him the first day, and the next day he says, "You know what, Hoby, we want to shoot that bull." Well, it wasn't that simple. I'd seen that bull a few other times, but didn't have our client with us at the time. And I think I probably put 14 days in looking for him after that. John, I think that the hunter, he had 29 days?
I think he said 28 days, I think is what he told me.
Yeah.
To hunt?
28 days that he actually was on the mountain looking for that bull.
So was he wasn't your client the whole time?
No, he wasn't. Yeah, because he was still going up on days. I had other hunts I was doing and stuff. But then ended up killing with John at the end, and they got all that on film and great bull and great footage.
Yeah.
And
well, you're the first person he wanted to call too, and he didn't have service on his phone, so that's why I called you. I had a little one bar. I couldn't believe it actually went through, but he just wanted you to be there, be a part of it because you had put so much time into it. So.
And it was actually for his son that's 12. Correct. Yep. Cage.
Was that
12.
a super tag or no?
No, it was a draw.
Wow.
It was a draw tag, and the kid was so excited.
You know what's funny is talking about how people think it's super easy. I know you've had a few clients, you and I have talked about it, that I'm going to do it on my own, and then they go up there and they're getting their ass kicked, and then they end up calling you. Correct? You've had that happen.
That happens a lot, for sure. But just because it isn't quite as simple, and sometimes, don't get me wrong, you might drive by the first one and it might be the bull that you're looking for. Yeah. But some of these bulls that we've looked for or disappear for weeks on end, and we do probably put a little bit more attention to them than we do some of our other stuff, just because the size that we are and the opportunity that's at hand.
Yeah.
But
there again, that was another one of those. Once they opened a moose hunt in that unit, pretty much shattered all the state records, and correct me if not, getting back to Miss Sayer, what's her first name?
Shelley.
Yep. Sorry. Shelley's was the #1 muzzleloader bull in Idaho, right? By a female or just total?
Oh, I'm sure total.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it's number 7.
We're quoting you.
I think it's number 7 or 8 ever killed in Idaho,
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a heck of a bull. I have a replica in my lodge, and
it
was the first one I ever replicaed, and a lot of people are like, "Well, why would you replica somebody, that's not even your bull," and I'm like, well, that bull crushed my life for 4 or 5 months. That's all I did that year, and got fairly obsessed with it, and to tell you the truth, when it actually finally happened and we harvest this bull, I was in a depression for like 2 weeks, and my wife finally comes up to you and
Hoby.
Yeah, she's like, "What is with you?" She's like, "You reach one of your biggest goals ever and you're down about it." And I'm thinking, well, I'm just trying to figure out the next one.
One thing I'm gonna tell you is that I've always really just talking to you. I know we've been friends a lot of years, but I mean, like you said, I mean, you had shit just when you started. really. And it is such a awesome story, because to see, and I know I've told you this many times too, how proud I am of, because I knew you as a kid, you know, and you're still a kid, but you know, I knew you younger, and then to see you start just guiding in general, and take that passion you had, and then to build up what you have now. But you've always been ballsy, taking risks. You've always put yourself out there, kind of maybe a little bit farther. I mean, kind of like the Champagne Taste beer budget. I know you've done quite well, but you've always just never stopped, and I've arrived. And I think that's awesome, because that makes a big difference on your success.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I still spend every dollar to make my next one, you know, and I hope someday maybe that ain't always the case, you know.
Well, but
it does make stuff exciting, you know. Maintaining is probably the hardest thing for me. Going to the next step is sure exciting, fun, enjoyable, however you want to put it, but
sometimes miserable,
sometimes very like, you know, I hope this works, you know, but no, it does make it fun.
Yeah, that's good. I think, like I said, attitude is and to have such a great, your wife being like she has been, as far as like, maybe she does question you, but maybe not. But I think a lot of times, for the most part, she has total faith that you're going to get it done, because you've proved her so many times.
You know, starting this for quite a few years of this, let's say the first 3 or 4 years, Tasha came along on this because this was my dream, and she wanted to be a part of me, and she wanted to be in this, you know. All of a sudden, it turned a corner. This is her group, you know. I probably had some growing up to do as being a husband at the first, and, you know, probably I said my money more than I should have said our money, and you know, it was pretty awesome. I remember the day that finally...
Doesn't she sign most of the checks?
All of them. I haven't wrote a check in 16 years. But she comes up to me one day and she says, you know, this outfit's as much as mine as it is yours, and it didn't take long for me to sit there and think, no, it's probably more hers than it is mine. You know, I mean, done every part of business that I mean, I hunt, and I make, you know, take the phone calls, but other than that, anything that's behind the scenes, she does it all, you know.
She is just running, and I know her mom's helped her quite a bit, and been a really good thing for her.
It has. Lisa's been awesome. Yeah, she's probably been a full-time employee of ours for probably 7, 8 years now, and that's made a world of difference. You know, this whole thing, so of course, you know, both Daryl and John probably know this, but I didn't really have much of a relationship with my dad till I was around 14, 15 years old. Well, a lot of things are skipped by that time. So, you know, my number one thing has always been, I want to do this with my family. Yeah. If I had to go everywhere without them, and, you know, a little bit right now, I'm going to back out of Alaska just for a second, and I don't know if I'd even told you I was going to do that yet, but it's a different deal now. That, see, they used to always come with me every year. You know, we homeschooled them for a little bit when they got older, and it was always to keep us, you know, did this job to keep us together, not apart. Yeah. And it hadn't been the same feeling, you know, that they're not here no more with me in Alaska. And I just figured, you know what?
Did you do it last year without them?
I did, and it was
challenging.
It was challenging, you know. You know, Tasha takes care of any problem I ever have. I mean, she knows all my land managers. She knows all the, she's built herself in this industry, well known, maybe more than me, you know, on a lot of things. And she's just so good and smart about what she does about stuff. And she, you know, just not having her there, not having the kids there, you know, I lost my grandma when I was in Alaska this year, and I couldn't come back because now I'm the main guy there, and I couldn't legally leave the field, you know, and you know, just, you know, a lot of hard moments that you know you go through on there, and, you know, my grandma's probably one of my favorite people in the world, you know. So I sent back a few quotes to say at the deal that she'd said for me, you know, but one of them was, you know, she always says, you know, when you get done building that pyramid, you know, she said, you know, you're still going to have problems. I was 28 years old, and she told me this, and this is in a 5-minute conversation one day.
Stuck with you though, didn't it?
Forever, you know, because, you know, when you grow up a little poor, you think money's going to fix some of this stuff. I've never always been based on money, but there was a lot of it there, you know. And then obviously the more money that you get, you realize that, it's the money has nothing to do with happiness or whatever.
Yeah.
It's enjoying every day, and that's what she was always wanting me to do. Is, when I have a goal in mind, and I'm still really got to work at this, but when I have a goal in mind, I put my head down, and whatever the sacrifice, whatever it is, you just do it until you get to here. And when you get here, this is happiness, in my head.
Right.
And the truth is, when you hit that deal, there's just got to be a next one, because it never feels the way you think it is, and you go to the next. And when she said that day, it stuck with me forever, because it's enjoy every day, And one thing my grandma did, every day until she was 89 years old. Well, she would be playing cards at her friend's house or whatever it was every single day, making sure everybody was okay, driving all over the country, to make sure, and lived and enjoyed every day. And I'm better and better at it all the time as far as, I look around a little bit more, not just my head down and on to the next project. But
That's cool.
Good. That's
awesome.
great things to remember her by. And
yep, but the mountain always gives you a little bit of time.
that's true.
To do that, maybe that was the hardest thing. Is I was there, basically by myself on that deal, and you go through, and you had a lot of time to sit there and think about it. But we had a great season. I think we killed 12 out of 14 caribou, and I had some of the best guides that you could ever ask for. They're supportive and hardworking, but I think for right now, I'm going to focus on what we're doing here, like say with the wedding venue, with the bird operation, with Deadline, and Idaho and Nevada. Just try to make sure I'm dotting my I's and crossing my T's, and do the best thing I can with what I got going.
And I know that we'll talk a little bit about. I know you've been really great with veterans and Hunt of a Lifetime. Maybe talk a little bit about that. How you.
Yeah, we did a deal with Kirstie Ennis a few years ago. That was a wounded warrior. She just shot a moose with us, and we did a full donation for it. And I actually guided her a few years before that through Jeff Burwell on a sheep hunt that she did, which was and I got to be the head guide on that one too. And
for those of you that don't know, she lost one of her legs.
Yep.
And was it a helicopter accident?
It was
crash?
a helicopter accident.
I do follow her on social media and love watching her. She don't give up. That
a very inspiring person.
Yeah.
She's she's been great, and watching her on that hunt, I just got got the bug for being a part of stuff that you and me get to do every day, and we take for granted. Kind of, you can't hardly. We were born with it. We got it. And when you see people reaching almost outside their means to make it where they can do whatever we can do, it's pretty inspiring.
Oh, I bet.
And Kirstie's been a real enjoyment in our lives and our kids' lives, and they look at the people that come through like that, and that's one thing I just love.
And I've seen your kids interact with the clients and stuff, and they're not because you're sitting here, but they're rugrats climbing the walls and stuff. That every time I've seen them, they're kids, they like playing and stuff, but I mean they're not disrespectful when I've seen them around clients, and everyone seems to enjoy them. Very much so. Well,
and I just actually had another one 7 months ago, and now I know what I'm doing until I'm 60. But no, the kids have been great, and that's sure the funnest thing about I think my whole deal, even for myself, but especially for my kids, is all these hunters that come through here, they're so inspiring. A lot of them made themselves from nothing, or from zero money, or but just the inspiration that comes with these guys. That's probably my favorite thing about the whole job, is just to be able to be a part of these people that are very ambitious, very excited to live life, and my kids get to see that all the time, and
that's positive.
It's positive. So positive, and there's very little negative that comes with any of that, and so that's been quite the blessing.
Yeah, and you've done some Hunt of a Lifetime too with a few different kids.
Yep, we did a Hunt of a Lifetime with one kid that was type 1 diabetic, And to be truthfully, it was a great kid. The dad came to. John Tolbert actually donated his time to come film this along with.
Was it an elk hunt?
It was an elk hunt. Yep, and which was donated by the state for the hunt of a lifetime. That tag was. And I probably had 5 other guides with me that donated all their time to it. It was a really special moment for Deadline altogether. And
it's touching. I've been a part of some.
John did a great job on the film too. It really caught a lot of the moments. And we had it was snow and a miserable day in some ways. And anyways, I guess later on the hunt, I remember thinking to myself, and I probably even told it to my wife, thought, this kid's type 1 diabetic, really, should he be here on a hunt of a lifetime? And Tasha was really good about it. She's like, well, great kid, great person. What an experience for a father and son. She's like, don't take away from the greatness that this is, and lo and behold, 2 years later, October 15th, my daughter gets type 1 diabetes and was life flighted to Boise, and we go through the whole thing. I mean, really a week later, if we wouldn't have caught it. And I remember for about a month there, when Cadence would walk by me, I'd grab her as she was walking through the office, and I'd look at her, and I could see she had sunken eyes, like she had black eyes. And
this is before you knew.
This is before we knew, and I kept thinking, what is up with her? And I'm always a little bit of funny on wasted money, right? And I'm like, well, take her in there. And Tasha's like, she's like, it's gonna be expensive. And I'm like, well, something's wrong. I know something's wrong, And so Tasha schedules it and goes in there, and from that visit right then, they life flight her out of there, and
from Twin to Boise right then, huh?
And anyways, what I was getting at with going back to the original story of the kid that we took hunting is, you don't know somebody's life from the outside looking in.
Of course, when you think diabetes, most people think, you probably hear, seems like I have heard more of type 2, which it can easily be like adjusted and whatnot.
Adjusted, and sometimes
type 1
even with diet.
It is, and I only know a couple people with it, and it's a totally different ballgame.
It really is. I mean, saying that statement that I said to Tasha earlier, I couldn't be more wrong with what I said, and about it being like, why is he here? Well, this kid, they deserves to be here. I mean, it's a hard life. I made a statement to Tasha one time. I said, once we found out she was diagnosed with type 1, I said, at least it's not terminal. At least it's not something that we can't overcome. And Tasha made the statement, no, she's just going to have to fight for her life every day for the rest of her life. Yeah. And that is so true. I mean, even last night we had a deal where, of course, I don't know because I was sleeping through this whole deal. Tasha takes care of everything, like I said earlier. But Tasha was up for 3 hours last night trying to keep her back on track. She hit the 500s, which is really, really, really high, where she should be under 100. And it's always like that. I mean, it's always, Tasha probably spends an hour to 2 hours every night in the middle of the night making sure. But we couldn't have came along.
Does she have to go check on her and whatnot?
She does, yeah. Make sure that she's not getting false readings, I mean, we couldn't be in this at a luckier time, though, as far as the Dexcom that works with her pump, that I don't even know how parents and people dealt with this beforehand. I mean, so feel very fortunate, but I wouldn't say karma's the word, but how that all lined out. I mean, the odds of my child getting type 1 diabetes, I wish I even had a number for you, but it's not good, Yeah. And so for me to have that whole thing, like I say, all timing thing and how things happen, it was kind of a coincidence.
Yeah.
We'll go with coincidence, but yeah. And man, I've only really been around her since this all happened, maybe once, but her attitude is still so awesome, I think.
Oh, it is. And a couple people in our family maybe favor her to, give her a little bit of, trying to think of the word. Sympathy, and I'm the other side of it, right? it's no big deal. This is fine. We're going forward,
I guess, I mean, if you try not to make it a big deal, maybe that's probably a good thing too, as opposed to, because it is a lifelong thing. It's not something she's going to get over.
It is, and so you just kind of work around it and figure, but don't let it ever hold you down. I'm super excited about, like, she loves hunting. She's
she got her first buck last year,
she got
year before.
She got her first buck the year before.
Yeah.
And my wife actually drew a late deer tag, and I should have known at the time when she drew it. I'm like, well, what's up? She drew all her other great 2 tags when she was pregnant, and I'm thinking, well, how did we get this tag? And we drew the tag, and then about 5 months later, we figured out why she drew the tag. She was pregnant again. So she gives that tag to Cadence, transfers that tag, which we can do in Idaho for youth, and transfers that tag. And, of course, she's looking for a great opportunity, and I'm looking for a great deer. And, actually on about the 3rd day of her hunt, we do find a great buck, one of the better bucks we found of the season, and it was a 185-inch type deer. And we get up there, and Dad's not as good as Mom about remembering every part, and I think that Cadence has.
I'm assuming Mom wasn't there.
No, and Mom was worried about us going without her. I said, we'll be fine. I got this. But I told Cadence even right before we left, make sure you put enough food in your deal in your pocket in case we have problems getting your sugars up. And we get up there, and I keep hearing her pump beeping, so I'm yelling at her, making noises.
You're making too much noise?
Yeah, her pump's making too much noise. And
this is the hard-ass dad.
Yeah, that's right. And anyways, she's like, well, I only have 3 Smarties. I'm like, well, 3 packages? She's like, no, like 3 Smarties. And I'm like, oh, man. So we sneak up, we get to like 300 yards, it's a little farther than I want her to shoot, but we get set down, and she's in the 40s, and we're in trouble now because she has 2 little Smarties left now, and I have her take the shot, which I shouldn't have had to. She was too shaky at the time just because she's low on her sugars, and anyways, we take the shot, and she misses, and then she eats the last 2 Smarties, which allows us to get back to the truck at least. But, it's a real deal. I mean, if I had had her much farther out than that, it would have been.
That will never happen again. You'll probably have a bag of something.
Oh, that's right. Yep. And of course, before I even got in the house, tell her the whole story.
Now, can she see what's going on, your wife, on her app?
Yeah. No, the whole thing. She's trying to call us now. We didn't have a service in, and I got the whole.
No inReach?
Well, I had an inReach, but, I didn't have it on. I only have it in emergency situations.
Right. Not that was Hoby, but.
Didn't qualify.
That's right.
She's got 2 Smarties. She'll be fine.
That's right. But, lot to be learned with it.
Well, thank God everything turned out okay. And she ended up killing deer when you didn't drag her back out that day, did you, Hoby?
No. 2 days later she goes, and we're looking at that for that buck, but we find another buck. It's like a 165-inch deer, and I thought, that'll be still a really nice buck. And we loop around there, and this there was like 9 does and 2 little tiny bucks, and then that 165 type buck. And we get around there, and the bigger buck's gone. There's 2 little ones, and I'm looking, and she's like, I want to shoot that one. And I thought, okay, and I said, you sure? Oh yeah, that's a nice one, and we sat down, and 220 yards, and she just hit it good, but it ran over the hill maybe 100 yards, which was great, because then we had to do a little track job, and I had my younger son, or my youngest with me, that's Stone, and he was he usually ruins most moments when it's not all about him. So this was actually great that it was a littler buck, because now he just enjoyed the experience, and so they had to do the blood trail, and then they got to it, and then he turned into me for a minute. Hey, Cadence, great job! I can't believe what you did. Great shot. This was unbelievable animal.
Awesome.
And he's so excited. But if we would have walked up to something big, he'd have just crossed his arms.
Right.
Has he killed a deer?
He hasn't. So he's 8. This was his first year hunting. He gets to hunt with the passport license here, and so we've done a little bit of cottontail hunting, and he's killed a couple pheasants with me, and a couple forest grouse, rough grouse earlier this year, and right now we're actually.
Are you still pheasant hunting right now?
We are.
Oh.
We are. Yep. Yeah. We probably another month here that we will. Yeah. So he's been saving up for this woodland buffalo hunt, and for some reason he's hung up on this, and I've been trying to get him to do maybe something else, just because he can do this at any age in his life, the woodland buffalo. And so anyways, I'm talking to my friend Jonah Stewart up in Alaska just this weekend, and I'm like, Jonah, I don't know if he's gonna like this hunt. And Jonah was just so good.
Is he going on it?
No, he's not. He's not going on it. He says, why don't you just come hunt with me and you can hunt whatever you want. We'll figure it out. Jonah's done some hunts with me here, and we've always taken care of each other.
Another great guy. Hell of a guy, too.
Yeah, Jonah really is. He has a great operation, and he's just a first-class person, But he looks at me, he says, nah, just come hunt with me. Bring him, And I think what an experience to be able to take my kid at 10 years old to Alaska and go. Well, I think we'll go after a moose.
Nice.
And I actually told him that this morning, because we just got back last night.
Really?
So I told Stone this morning, and I've been making Stone. I said, you got to pay for half of your buffalo hunt, which is like, so his half would be $6,000. So he's at like $1,200 right now. And,
got a little more lawn mowing to do, huh?
Well, he didn't look at it like this. He says, well, Dad, I don't got to save the money then, right? And I said, what do you mean? He said, you'll just trade Jonah something, won't you? I said, well, trade, do whatever, pay for it. Either
Remember
way.
Auntie's teeth.
That's right. And anyways, he was super excited, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Will that happen this year?
No, so he's 8 now.
Oh, 8.
So it'll be 2 more years.
Okay, perfect.
And it'll be good. He'll be able to go up the mountain a little bit more, but he goes really well right now. So I'm sure he'd be even fine right now. But I'm
sure the adrenaline alone is probably just the excitement.
When I was younger, I would have thought to do a hunt with this with a kid would be like maybe a graduation present, to be able to do this as, on one of his first hunts,
Right.
To go.
Now he's 10.
Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? You take them opportunities when you can.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And, that's a really fortunate thing. You've had some opportunities. I remember your sheep hunt, your personal sheep hunt, the phantom sheep you killed, was a client gave it to you because he couldn't go. I mean, not very many people get that opportunity like that. Tell that story.
That's right. So I'm guiding the guy in Alaska on a brown bear hunt. We're doing the boat hunts, and
But you've guided this guy several times, correct?
I've guided him one time before.
Okay.
Before this, I guided him in Wyoming on my own deal there.
Oh, yeah.
So anyways, we get done with the hunt. He shoots a nice bear, and he's a handful of a guy, Joe, and he says, hey, you want to go on a Doll sheep hunt in Northwest Territories? And I said, well, let me see if I can get it in my schedule, see if I can, what time of year it is. And he's like, well, it'd be like July. And I thought, oh yeah, I could make that work, and I'm thinking he's just wanting me to come along and go with him as like assistant, or whatever, and anyways, finally he's like, no, I'm talking about giving you this hunt. And I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I want to.
Okay.
I want to go, and anyways, even at the end of this hunt, I never forget. But he says he hands me another couple $1,000, and I mean, this meant so much to me, I can't even tell you. And I'm like, Joe, I'm not going to take any more of your money. I go, you're making me feel so bad. This is one of the biggest things that anybody's ever done for me ever. And he says, how's a poor son of a bitch like you gonna fly to Canada anyways? And I said, give me that money.
Solid point.
And now it's probably, they got him. It's probably nothing for him. But wasn't he going to go on it and couldn't go or something?
Yeah, he just couldn't go on it. He's a very busy guy, and he just, he's canceled a lot of stuff. Yeah, got to book this stuff way in advance. Yeah. Well, then stuff happens, and he likes helping people. He's done it for a lot of people. Gave away several hunts that he couldn't go on, just kind of help some guys around him that aren't as fortunate as he. And then I go on this hunt with Stan Stevens, and Dustin Rowe was actually my guide at the time, and we were both super young then, and Dustin was even a couple years younger than me, and great person. And I remember Stan, we're flying through the mountains, and he's like, Stan was an ex-triathlon guy, you know, he could go. But anyways, we're going over, and he's like, see that strip right here? And we fly for another 15 minutes. Well, then I'll drop you off here a little later. And then we fly a little bit more. And I'm like, holy cow. Because I did tell him, I called him, we can go wherever you think we need to go. And now he's definitely showing the challenge. Yeah. And, so me and Dustin land, and we're like, holy cow, we got a real hunt set out, and we didn't actually have to go that far. We ran into a great ram that's like probably 38 inches, you know, and he looks fairly heavy. And Dustin says, what do you think? I said, well, let's look at him just a little closer, but yeah, I probably would shoot that ram, you know. And this is the day before it actually opens. We're just going to get camp ready, right? And so.
And I remember one thing, you may talk about this, had you wait for midnight so the season opened, right, or something?
Yeah, so we end up going around there, and we're we're just sneaking around to look at this ram, and we got to go around because we go over the top to peek down on him, you know, and we go just far enough, and Dustin's to my right a little bit, and looks off the backside and says, holy cow, right here, Hoby. And we look at this ram for a second. He says, I think you ought to. I said, I get it. This ram is a ram of rams.
So it's bigger than the one.
Yeah, the one that we watched on to my left and over the hill, we haven't even got to where we can see it again yet. Yeah. And these two rams were bedded on their own. And we set up, the wind's blowing really, really hard. I remember we waited and we had to wait till midnight. To be the next day, and then it got to be midnight, and he wouldn't stand, and he was bedding downhill away from us, so you could only see the small part of him. And Dustin's like, you know, it's not that far. It's like 260. Just shoot him right there.
And so at that point, did you know it was a Phantom sheep?
No, we did not know at the time. Yeah, it was just hard to tell if he was dirty or whatever. And he was bedded the whole time, so you couldn't see every part of him. Couldn't see his tail. Couldn't see, you know. And so Dustin wanted me to shoot him sitting there, and I just thought, why? You know, I kept thinking, you know, and so it finally stands up. It was a matter of time. It was like 12:47, so another 47 minutes, and it stands up, and I shoot him right there. Well, now it gets dark, you know, and we set it up and set up our hillside. I remember we set on a steep hillside where there was just sheep trails, but there was a couple right. So Dustin stayed on this one and I wrapped up in the tent, and he wrapped up in the fly. Oh, you know, because you couldn't set nothing up. Yeah, you know, and
because it's so windy.
Nobody slept, you know, at all. You know, get up and so the pictures were great because we set him up before, and he's just stiff like a lion, you know, for the next day. And but what a great experience! I mean, and meeting Dustin, and I've kept in contact with him ever since, and he's done huge, great things, and kind of the rock star of sheep hunting, and
talk a little bit about the Phantom sheep compared to Doll and
so then it turned out being a Fannin, which is a mix between a Doan and a Stone and a Doll, and so now I can actually qualify that for either one if I want. Of course, I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to chase the other three, you know, but you never know where things go. And
guide the right person.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what did he end up being as far as size-wise?
So he's 40 and a quarter, and he had 14-inch bases, and officially netted out at 167 for a lot of years. That was the biggest ram that I was on for probably 10 of them sheep hunting years.
What he gross?
I don't remember the gross.
Was there much deductions?
There's not much.
Usually, outside of unless they broomed off, there's usually not a lot of deductions on.
Exactly, and he was basically perfect. Yeah. You know, but
he's a gorgeous.
Yep.
With one, I mean, there's one distinct spot where it's a little bit darker, but he's got a little bit of a dirty to him.
All the way through him, just a little bit, and his tail's really colored. You know, there was no doubt that he's a Fannin, but so nowadays, you know, now it'd be a $75,000
to pursue that type of sheep.
To pursue a Stone.
Stone
classification. Yeah. So
you're gonna go on that next year then?
I would classify that one under the stone. when
Yeah,
you're done
Yeah,
with
for
it,
sure.
right?
Yeah, I'm gonna up that one. Stone, I feel like when they're in their prime and they're that grayish blue, to me, are by far the prettiest. I mean, all of them are pretty, but
That's right. I mean, yeah, until you see one actually even in person and really see how spectacular the colors are
Yeah.
on a stone.
I'm sure at the sheep show. I've never went to the sheep show. I've been to other shows where they have sheep there, but I'm sure there's some amazing taxidermy and
There is, yeah.
Science,
It's an amazing show. I like all the shows. I really do. And we don't set booths up really at any of them anymore. But I like the sheep show because it's full of a lot of guys that's not just wear jeans and it's not about showing off the any money. It's not about any of that. It's just hardworking.
yeah. You brought up a good point, which I think is definitely kudos to you. And I know a few outfitters that aren't in this position, but you've built a good enough reputation now, a positive reputation, that you don't have to go chase clients.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of outfitters that have to go year after year after year. Not all of them do, and nothing against the ones who do. But it is kind of nice, I'm sure, that you don't have to go to all these shows because of word of mouth, for one thing. There's only so many tags up there, but I know you have some repeat clients that get some of your,
We
gobble
do.
up some of your landowner, or not necessarily landowners, your a lot of tags and whatnot. That's
Deadline grew really slow, in my opinion.
of course it did.
But growing slow was a good thing. It grew with the business, and I've got some good advice from the guys that I worked for before. George Stolman did a lot of great things that I try to mimic in our camps. Jeff Burwell did a lot of great things in his camp, and I got to steal a little bit of ideas from each one of them.
Yeah.
And
Plus, you experience. You see, okay, this is great here. This is great here.
I got to be a guide for a lot of years, which is a lot different than the outfitter in a lot of situations. Kind of my saying is, I'm only as good as my worst guide. I want that experience on the mountain to be as positive as dealing with me on the phone, or being in the lodge, every part of it, and always learning and always asking my clients every time, what could we do better? And not with no ego about it. What could we do better? I remember a guy one time came up to me and says, "Hey, Hoby, what's with everything else that you do, and what's with these chintzy sandwiches?" And a couple of my guides were standing next to me, and they're like, "You do the best deal out of anybody we've ever worked around," or whatever. And I said, "But who cares? It's $20 difference for the whole week. Load it up,"
Right.
And we do. I mean, anything that we can change to make it better, we want to make it better.
I've always been an advocate of saying that even if the hunting isn't amazing, if your accommodations are good, they're nice and full, all those other things make up for you've got a great hunting spot. But I'm just saying, as a rule, and you've probably experienced too. That's another thing too, as guiding. A lot of times a client will talk to you, their guide, and bitch, for lack of better words, or something, if there's something. But even working for George, I mean, you didn't hear much as far as there was always plenty of food. Accommodations were great. I always thought the accommodations were great. And that means a lot too.
Well, I always say, like you were just saying, if you can control the things you can control, you can control your equipment, you can control your guides, you can control your food, you can control accommodations. You control what you control, do the best you can, hunt as hard as you can, and the rest is hunting.
Yeah.
And I think that I watched Jeff Burwell one time. We broke an Argo on the mountain, and
did you break it, Hoby?
he broke it,
Just asking.
which was great, right? Because he's always saying, "You're hitting these things too much," or whatever. We came up and we were coming out of a creek, and we hit a deal, and we broke some major stuff that time. And he was driving, and we had a full moose on the back, and quartered moose,
Right.
and I look at him. He's
Are
like,
you in another Argo?
"No, I'm in that one,"
Oh.
So I get to see it firsthand. He's like, "Yeah, I hit that a little hard," and I like, "Yeah, you did." Anyways, I watch him, and Jeff's the most amazing guy. Like the plane is miles from us. He says, "Well, I'll see you tomorrow," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'll be back tomorrow. Keep everybody happy. So we hang up the moose, we start a fire. We have actually Richard Childress there at the time, which I'm thinking he's not going to really love this, And
He probably dug it though, didn't he?
oh, it was great. Yeah. Actually, when we got to spend some more time, and some of that, weird times like that almost is better. Adds to the story and whatever. And
a lot of people will never experience that until they're in that situation, and then it turns out to be something. Because if, for lack of better words, let's say you're pampering them, to a point, you're doing the best you can to take care of them, and then a challenge comes up like that wasn't expected at all, can turn into one of the greatest experiences they ever had, because they probably never dreamed they'd be in that situation, but here they are, and turn it into something good.
I remember that night, he had one of his buddies with him at the time, and he was playing, they had a little music thing sitting around the campfire, and Willie Nelson came on. He loved Willie Nelson, and I said, hey, Richard, did you know that, Willie smoked weed in the White House? And he says, not only did I know that, Hoby, I was there that night. He said, not only was I there, I went and we partied with him that night. He didn't partake in the other stuff that Willie maybe likes, but he and I said, oh, come on, Richard. He said, go ahead, look it up. I said, well, I'm no service. He said, well, the head NASCAR guys were invited to that deal, and that's why we were at the White House at the time. And I thought, well, what a thing for me to say to bring up that.
Right.
And I thought, what are the odds? That's right. Anyways, what I was getting at earlier is, Jeff comes back the next morning with a brand new $35,000 Argo. When I knew financially, Jeff, it was tight at that time. And I said, Jeff, how do you afford to do that? How'd you do that? He says, it doesn't matter the cost. He said, when you commit to this is what you're going to do at any cost, you make it happen. Mm-hmm. And he's right. I mean, so I've always kind of followed that saying, and there are some times that you've had to pay for and maybe do some stuff, like in some moments that are like, I hope this thing clears, but it's always came back 10 times doing the right thing. And I think that's how our business has had so many repeats and why we've been fairly successful on not really looking for clients. I found out a long time ago, great people know great people and jerks know jerks. Yeah. And I've always stuck to the one side. Yeah. I got so many great clients that are so, they see something on Facebook of, hey, I heard that you're going through this and this, that reach out. And them are the kind of people we chase that actually want to maybe be a little bit more than just clients. I mean, a lot of these guys turn into lifelong friends. I mean, I probably have as many friends through the outfitting as I do through regular life, which is...
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't, like it says, you don't have to go, you always got guys wanting to come back. Do you put many in for hunts, help them put in and stuff?
We do. Yeah, we do I wouldn't say we do a full licensing service, but we'll help anybody that wants to jump in with us. And if they're having a hard time with the draw, we'll either walk it through them and they can do it, or Tasha will do it. Either way.
And you're doing some stuff in Nevada?
We are. Yeah.
And you're not anymore in Wyoming?
Nope. Right now we are just this next year we are just Idaho and Nevada.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that's good, man.
Any spring stuff? Do you do any spring stuff?
Work.
Yeah.
We're always building stuff. I mean, right now I got a lot of buildings we're finishing. We're finishing a new lodge on the new property. I got 2 cabins that we're finishing, but I always have a project like that.
That's true.
And
that's just saves up all his money.
Right.
Yeah, and it's always been well worth my efforts of the building. I mean, of course, I never really pay myself. It'd be nice if I wrote myself a check during that time, but we're still growing a lot right now. We still have another.
How many more years too? I know you'll never reach that.
He's never gonna stop.
But I mean, your goal for the lodge, let's say, and all that, a couple years.
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a big reach.
Yeah.
What we're doing, we still got 10 more cabins and another lodge that's about 11,000 square feet that we have permitted to build. And
how many is your lodge now?
The one we're out of is actually only 3,200.
Only.
Right.
And the one we just finished is a 5,000 square foot lodge, but There's not really rooms. There's only one bedroom in it, so it's mostly one big room with a big bar, and really look forward to finishing that one. We just finished the framing, should be done by this week, and so.
Weren't you swinging trusses the other day?
Yep. And right now, actually, that project, I've hired another company to come in and throw them trusses up. There were 60-foot trusses, and so I would rather been on his liability, not mine. So
Smart.
yeah. So, but they did a great job. They got them up on one of the few no-wind days that we've had lately, so that was good.
No kidding.
Good. You're one of your most personal favorite hunts of yours. You have one?
Oh,
Sorry, didn't
should have prepped me for that one.
Yeah. Was it your sheep hunt? Would you say is probably one of your?
Yeah, I'd say the sheep hunt's, right up there. I mean, maybe it's the guide in me. Yeah, when you say mine, I always will usually go back to
A hunter?
a hunter. But you know what? Truthfully, I look at them as so much mine as it is theirs.
Sure.
But
Well, I mean, it's to me the challenge that really, what actually gave me like the desire to even do it was getting myself. If I ended up shooting an elk, let's say early, and I had time still in the season, I'd want to go out more.
Yep.
So I'd go with buddies or whatever. But it's one thing getting yourself in range, talking maybe archery more, but it's one thing getting yourself in range, but somebody else too and yourself can be challenging. The more things can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes throwing a camera in too. I mean, that's
It's always the camera guy's fault.
no,
Things
it's
go
not.
wrong.
But just most of the time, no. No, I've had some. There's been some times I've had other camera guys that it's. My thought has always been, yeah, we really want to get this on film, but the most important thing is making sure this client,
Right.
gets taken care of.
You bet.
If get it on film, great. If we don't, we don't. But yeah, so I mean,
I'd say personal hunt. I'd say you're probably right. That sheep hunt was something really special, and the fact I didn't know him before, but what a great person I shared it with too. I mean, that's always in everything in
Sure.
me, is who you're doing it with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, same thing with I actually have a lot of my buddies that guide for me. Daryl, you guide for me sometimes. I really it's all about who I'm doing it with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember an elk hunt that you had, and you're so busy you didn't get to go on until, was it like the last day?
Yeah. So, you mean my elk hunt in 54?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it actually didn't work out. Oh, so I had another one though that was like that, but this one actually I didn't get the tag until the second to last.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
wow.
what it was. Yeah, that's right.
So-
What happened? How'd you end up with that?
So a landowner up here, I just called him to see what they ended up shooting on a landowner tag that they had, and he says, "Hoby, this would have been like the 11th of November, and it was Sunday. No, it was Saturday at the time. It was Saturday, and he says, "You won't believe it, Hoby, but it's still the voucher's still in my desk," and I'm like, "Oh, really?" And I said, "You ought to do something with that, And he said, "Yeah, I just don't have time." And he calls me back, and he says, "Hey, Hoby, if my boss will allow me to, we'll just give that to you, And I said, "Well, that would be awesome, So then he didn't call, and I was scouting on the 15th. I have a late deer hunt that was opening. And so I was headed up the mountain to scout for that. It's 5:30 in the morning, and I get a weird call from a number I don't know, and I think that's early, And so I'm like, "Hello," and it's this guy, and he says, "That'll be in your name by 8 o'clock this morning," So that is on this is the 14th. And so I go scout for the morning. I actually find a bull too. Might have been doing both at the same time at that point. And I run back down. I pick it up at 9:45 and call one of my guides, Ben Hepworth. I said, "Ben, you want to come?" oh yeah, and can you bring a gun? And we go to the range real quick. I shoot a couple times, make sure it fits me good, and we head up, and at 9:30 at 3:30 we end up shooting this bull. And what's funny about this bull is I found this bull with my dad about 3 or 4 days earlier. He was up scouting with deer for me, and I came back, and when I went after this bull, I'll finish telling the rest. When we seen it that day, great bull, takes a video, I come back, and I'm so excited about this bull. I'm like, this bull is going to be a 400 in a couple of years, just needs a couple of years. And when I come back and I tell Tasha I'm going to get that tag, she says, what are you doing? I go, I'm going to go kill that bull. And she says, the hell you are. I go, what do you mean? She said, it's a potential 400. You said it yourself. I said, they all are potential 400, And she is so worked up on me going to this. We actually turns into a little bit of a fight. And I told her, I haven't drew a tag in years. Actually, to this date, it's been 20 years since I drew a tag. I said, this is an opportunity I don't get, And anyways, I went and shot that bull, and she settled down. But, it was a 373 bull.
Oh, wow.
And it was a great bull. And there are a couple guys that actually said, Hoby, you're the outfitter of that unit. Why didn't you shoot a bigger bull?
Right.
Which was kind of a little bit of an insult to me a little bit, because the truth is, the best animal that you can shoot during that hunt is the best one that you find.
Right.
I had 2 days to hunt, and truthfully, I would have shot this bull on the first day of the hunt if I had the whole season to go.
Right.
I always think you take the opportunity, and when a lot of guys ask me, says, well, how big a bull do you think, or how big an animal? I said, the best one that we find during the week.
Because I don't think people realize, we started talking a little bit earlier about a 350 bull is a good bull. I don't know. We are a little spoiled where we live, to be honest with you.
We are spoiled, but no, I sure enjoyed that bull, and I sure enjoyed the experience, and walking up to that, I don't get a tag. It was kind of awkward for me, almost like notching my own tag and not helping somebody notch their tag, and it was a great moment and another opportunity that probably shouldn't have happened. Besides, it all lined up.
Exactly. And the reality is, I know you don't get to hunt for yourself almost ever.
Never. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. And now it'll be all about the kids when you do get the opportunity to.
Yeah, me and Tosh were talking about that this morning. Some of these favors and things that I'll use them all on the kids. It's just it's too much fun.
Exactly. Yeah, that's super cool. What's the future?
I think we'll still continue where we're going right now. Try to perfect, like I say, kind of what we're doing, and kind of base it more around the kids coming into this. I have my 12-year-old daughter. Well, she'll be 12 this next month. That just is so great with people. I hope she'll mold into wanting to run this wedding venue and create some opportunity right in the family. The other day she always says she wants to be an artist, and she is great at that stuff. And my wife looked at her and says, well, no better way to use to be an artist besides or to help somebody build their wedding deal every week, and design and go through.
That's a good point.
For a minute she had to sit there and think about it, and then she comes back and she says, you're right. She's like, I'd be able to help design something every week that's something different, and
that
from
would
an
be
artist.
so cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's fun. It's fun to see kids trigger into what their next step is, and I
create goals.
Yep, create goals, and I try not to be the typical, I'll say, farmer type, because where we live, where you're molding this person in to be what you want them to be, because truthfully, I'd want them to do whatever they want, but I can't think of a better lifestyle than what we do, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And that's going to be such an amazing thing, the venue, being where it's at, that location and everything. And
well, it is, and it ain't much different than guiding in a lot of ways, right? We get to be a part of somebody's really, really special day.
Yeah.
you know, and do the best that we can to line up stuff to make that happen. I mean, it's what we've always done.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
cool.
That's really cool.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time we've talked about having you on here for a while. We know you're busy. And so when I called you last week, I thought, Hoby be a good time for you. I know shows are coming up. I didn't know. I know it's been a couple years since you made the sheep show, but I thought, yeah, let's try to get them all.
No, I appreciate it. I always enjoy what you guys do, and both of you have been a big part of our life, and it's been good.
Has been. Yep.
Yeah,
So proud of
awesome.
you, Hoby.
Hell,
Thanks for coming out.
Super proud. There probably aren't two harder working people
No.
than Hoby and Tasha. There's no doubt.
No.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Especially Tasha.
Right? Mostly Tasha. Had to Hoby in there. He's standing.
You've done awesome. It's definitely a team effort.
For sure. I no way would I have got it done without her.
Oh, it'd be screwed up as a soup
Well,
sandwich
even
if you had to do
the last time I came out to the to your house, you guys were working on. Well, you were thinking about doing a wedding venue there at one point, right?
And we actually are
You guys
doing
were
a little
working
bit there even right now too.
Okay.
But
the Airbnb thing and everything.
Yeah.
else.
Oh, yeah. That's right. You do that. Yeah.
yep.
Your shooting house, I just got to talk real quick about it. You've got that up on a hill.
Yeah.
That old doctor's table that's with a crank on it is
Yep.
just
Yep.
such the coolest thing because you can adjust it to anybody. And
You know,
how far can you shoot out to?
We're just shooting out to like 700 yards off that one,
Just?
you know. But we
Right.
could shoot farther. But you know, it's funny when we built that shooting house, it was supposed to be a lean-to. And
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's
There you go. ADHD went overboard, didn't you?
yeah, that's right. And
Hoby
yeah,
and I do share that in common. We both a little ADHD
Yeah.
at times.
yeah, keep us jittering.
Right.
As you drink a Monster.
Yeah, well, I happen to like that too.
Oh, boy.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon and appreciate everything.
Yeah.
Well, thanks
Thanks.
again for having me on here.
Thanks for your time.
You bet.
Thanks, John.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you
Smash
watching.
that like button and subscribe.